Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of The Truck Stops Here, brought to you by Natso. Now, here are your hosts, Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.
Hello, welcome to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren Schulte. Hey, Darren.
Hi, Amy. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You guys are listening to Natso's podcast, The Truck Stops Here. Natso is a national trade association for truck stops, and our mission is to advance the success of the truck stops and travel centers. And this podcast is one of the many ways that we do that. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Chris Cantera, Executive Sales Manager for Blink Charging. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Darren. How's it going?
Great, Chris.
Good. So Blink Charging is a Natso Chairman Circle member. So that means you're a supporter of Natso at the highest level. It also means that you're a big supporter of the industry, and we're just really thrilled that you're here. I thought we could just start by kind of setting the scene on what the EV landscape is looking like.
Yeah. So over the next couple of years, the EV landscape is just expected to grow. It's great to see what Blink has done in our growth as a company, and it's actually pretty cool to see just year over year the amount of chargers that we've been able to put in the ground. And what we've seen at Blink is in order for people to feel comfortable to drive electric, there must be some sort of infrastructure in place. So Blink over the past couple of years has been putting in that infrastructure to help support the EV boom that we're seeing coming over the next coming years in the automotive world.
So a lot of our members have questions about, like, kind of in three buckets, right? They want to know about the equipment, they want to know about the grants, and they want to know about the customers. So I thought we'd talk equipment first.
Okay.
What do you recommend for truck stops?
Yeah, so there are three different levels of electric vehicle charging, level 1, 2, and 3. It's simple as that. Level 1, what we have seen has been mostly been for the home sector, where people are able to get a charge over 8 to 10 hours. Level 2 has been mostly for those, what we like to call lifestyle chargers, where if somebody is going about their everyday life, they're going to go ahead and fill up during their everyday life cycle. And that's a level 2 charger, which takes roughly 4 to 6 hours to charge. And then the level 3 is what we consider a corridor charger, which is what we have seen be really beneficial at these stops along corridors. And the level 3 charger is great because it allows somebody to stop for 20 minutes, get 80% charge, and get back on the road very quickly. And something that we are looking to dispel is that range anxiety, where if somebody is driving electric, it's difficult, and it feels difficult to drive from one end of the state to the other end of the state if you're having to travel 350 miles. And what we have done is, with our level 3 charger, give somebody the ability to literally stop for a 20-minute bathroom break, grab a cup of coffee again, and get back on the road and have a full charge. They're not quite yet as fast as gas pumps, but of course, we're looking to innovate and slowly close that gap on maybe a 5 to 10-minute fill-up with a gas tank, as opposed to a 20-minute fill-up with an electric vehicle. So level 3 has been, again, mostly beneficial at the corridor stops along these national highway corridors.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a quick question. Now, Chris, we are blessed to look at anywhere from as many as 3 store layouts and designs a week from members, and more specifically, a lot of the C-store operators that are getting into our industry. So they'll send over their designs and layouts and so forth and get some feedback from us. And one of the things that Amy and I have been talking about on previous podcasts, and we've also shared that in some blogs, is the importance of preparing for electric vehicles that'll tow. So for example, the F-150 is coming out really, really soon. And we've referenced that we think that might be a tipping point for a lot of people, just because of the sheer number of F-150s that are, produced every year. And it's, we share with folks, it's kind of unlikely that someone's going to pull up in an F-150 pulling a trailer, an electric, a Lightning, and unhook that trailer and then charge. So we have been trying to remind members to start thinking in the future. In other words, what we call pull-through types of chargers. Do you think that is a valuable thing for folks to start thinking about now as they're either retrofitting their travel centers for electric or building new ones? Get your thoughts on that.
That's a great question. And being proactive in this industry is major. We have seen that when building out the infrastructure and putting in place a system to be able to charge cars, doing it either during a rebuild or during doing it right off the bat is the most cost-effective way to do this. Oftentimes, the boring and trenching and having to put in a brand new electrical infrastructure after the fact is extremely costly. So if we are out here looking to provide an infrastructure for the future, we need to assume that people will be here pulling trailers and using an F-150 to haul. And honestly, that's what it's made for. And it's cool to see the F-150 come out. I sit in Nashville, Tennessee, and the electric vehicle industry it's not adopted like it is on some of the coastal early adoptive states, the Californias, the New Yorks, the Floridas of the world. But seeing the Hummer, seeing the F-150 get over 100,000 pre-orders really shows that there is a market in the Midwest and the Southeast of the United States, not just the early adoptive states of California, West Coast, or the East Coast. There really is a market for people driving electric vehicles in or I shouldn't say our territory, but at least in my Midwestern part of the U.S. It's really cool to see where the future is going. And an interesting stat that I've seen is there will be 100 new electric vehicles being produced over the next 5 years. So Tesla sort of came out of nowhere. Rivian will be coming out of nowhere here pretty shortly, but there are expected to be another 100 or so new models that will be coming out that will just speak to more individuals. Teslas are great. I love a Tesla myself, but it's not for everybody. So it's cool to see the adoption of the F-150. And to circle back a little bit, being able to prep for those electric vehicle drivers on the front end of things and being proactive about it will save a ton of money in the end.
Yeah, for our business, for many of our members, the forecourt, what I'm going to call trailer fueling customer, whether that be a plumber or whether it be a landscaper, it's a very, very big business for our industry. So we do a lot of business on that forecourt with that type of customer. They're a great customer. They come inside and so forth, yada, yada, yada. And again, hence, that's why we're trying to prepare our members. Don't forget, electric vehicles, sooner or later, will be towing things and towing the capacity and prepare for it. So.
Very true.
What about grant money? Can we talk about that? What grant money is available?
There is new money popping up each day. And Blink actually has a team of individuals who are specifically designated for this grant department. So while I have a feel of what is going on in the general Midwestern part of the U.S., we also have a team of representatives who are specifically working with federal grant money, with Department of Energy grant money, Volkswagen grant money, whatever it may be. There are numerous different avenues that we are able to pull from to help out with some of this grant money. So a big one that has been going on has been the Volkswagen mitigation money that has been happening. It was due to the emissions testings back in the day. And that money's been slowly being rolled out over the numerous states. It's happened in some states. It hasn't happened in all states yet. And it is something that we are more than happy to work with individuals to help them find that grant money. It's not something that we want you to do by yourself. We know that the individuals who are running these stops have way more going on than just trying to find electric vehicle infrastructure money. So we're here to help with that. Other than the Volkswagen money, though, there will be a massive federal funding that is coming out. I believe it was $1.7 trillion or something like that. And while not all of that is dedicated to the EV infrastructure, there will be a significant portion that is designated to helping install electric vehicle infrastructure. So VW, the federal funding, Department of Energy is also another area that we can find that funding. And probably the fourth pillar of funding that we have seen is through the utilities themselves. So specific utilities, Ameren, St. Louis Ameren Utility District is actually offering one too. They understand that they are supplying kilowatts through this charger, and the more kilowatts they can get out, it's better for the company as well. So if you look at your local utilities, they're oftentimes willing to work with you to help supply that energy to customers as well.
We had a webinar with Blink, and one of the questions was, if you don't have grant money, are you not able to do this?
So grant money, of course, makes things easier, and having the ability to get some sort of reimbursement or some sort of incentive package in place to get the equipment in place is always great. But Blink is willing to work with great properties and work with different stops along the way who do have great locations that are worth investing in today, where we can partner with you as a company and build together and help support the electric future. The grant money makes things easier, of course, and when there is grant money available, Blink is willing to invest potentially even more. But by no means is it a deal or no deal where we must have grant money available.
Okay. I thought that was such an interesting question. I remember one time at a board meeting, our board members were saying it's like this, they want to have the equipment at the right time, right? They want to have it before the demand hits. And I feel like this is like the time that we're in.
Yeah. And it's interesting. That's a very good point. What Blink looks for is it's interesting. We call it densifying the area. We understand that in order for somebody to feel comfortable to drive, that there must be an infrastructure in place. I've met with apartment complexes. This doesn't necessarily fit to the corridors, but I've met with apartment complexes, and it's been, oh yeah, we don't need electric vehicle infrastructure because we don't have anybody who drives electric here. And then you have to look at it as a double-edged sword. Well, maybe you don't have anybody who lives there because you don't have the infrastructure.
Right.
So that the time is now, and let's create some sort of backbone for the industry is something that it's difficult to wrap your mind around right now because you don't necessarily see it yet. But in order to put it in place and in order for there to be the adoptive nature of electric vehicles, it must be in place first.
What do you think about that, Darren?
Chris, I was going to kind of twist it a little bit. You referenced you have a Tesla?
No, I love
correct?
Teslas. Excuse me.
You love Tesla. Yeah. So I like your insight on this. One of the things right at the beginning of, I'd say maybe the early adoption of EV was there was a lot of conversation out there that the EV customer was like the perfect customer for a travel center because he or she had to sit there and charge for a long period of time. That means they were going to go into the stores. And of course, those that have adopted EV early, they've kind of soured on that idea. And I think maybe even Tesla has admitted that they don't always leave their cars. They sit in their cars. And we've found that to be the case over thousands of pictures or thousands of actual observations that the drivers don't leave. So one of the things we are sharing, don't leave their car, they sit in there and charge it. So one of the things we've been pushing our members to really think about is you have to create some sort of reason for a customer to leave that electric vehicle. It's no different, believe it or not, than you're fueling, right? So you have the ability to fuel and leave. You don't have to go into a travel center. So are you noticing anything that, whether it be in the grocery world or other businesses that are putting charges, what some folks are doing to get that customer out of their vehicle and into their business? Any ideas you might want to share with some of the members?
And something, that's a great question. And something I want to touch on too is the number of Teslas or electric vehicles that I see pull up to gas stations that don't have chargers. They pull into a parking spot and are sitting there. Not the car is sitting there, but they are inside buying and shopping. And there's a revenue to be had at that parking spot as well, which is something that is interesting. Even though there is no charging infrastructure at this particular gas station or at this particular stop, they're still there. So just because there is a charging station there doesn't mean somebody's going to use it. And at the same time, just because there isn't a charging station there doesn't mean that an electric vehicle will be there. So you got to look at it from both points. But some of the things that you can do is a little bit of the advertising on the charging infrastructure itself. So all of our stations can be wrapped in some sort of advertisement. You can have some sort of advertisement being done on the screens as well. McDonald's actually has been their McCafe. They have an awesome branded Blink charger that is wrapped with the McCafe coffee in it. I'm a huge proprietor of the McCafe myself. I'm not a big Starbucks guy, so seeing the McCafe wrap charger is something that's pretty cool, and it very well could entice somebody to go in and shop a little bit longer. What I've seen at Costco, it's crazy. It's something that every hour that somebody is parked at Costco, they're expected to make $300 off of that individual. And so that's one that is parking spot real estate, which you got to assume that is a soft cost that we can't account for. But if you are a Tesla user or an EV, whatever it might be, a Nissan Leaf user, and you know that you have a 3-hour window that you must be there to charge, hypothetically speaking, there's a level 2 there. They have 3 hours that they need to charge. Costco can assume that they are maybe not $900, but they can assume that somebody being parked there will be spending over $500 for an extended period of time. So it's little things like that. It's the soft cost that you can't account for. Putting in an electric vehicle charger, it's not the same as a gas pump. You're not going to be making $65 off of somebody filling up a Jeep Grand Cherokee over a 5-minute span. It is a lower cost, but then you make up for it again on the soft cost side of things. You touched on a little bit that not everybody goes inside. It's actually funny. You can actually pull up Netflix on your car now. So
correct.
You're stopped for 30 minutes. You watch an episode of The Office instead of going inside, and putting little incentives, either a discount code saying, hey, if you charge here, you'll get a discount code to go inside as well. And it's little things like that we've seen be pretty beneficial and not only incentivize people to charge, but also incentivize people to go inside.
I love that you mentioned food, because that is a big driver for us, even when you're fueling. And I love that last comment about Netflix is back in the day when we used to sell VHS and DVDs in our industry, which were huge sellers. When we would look at the basket analysis of those purchases, they always really, really high, because they'd buy a DVD and buy popcorn, or buy a DVD and buy soda, right? And when you'd ask and survey the drivers, why are you doing that? They'd say, well, we're going to the movies. So if you really think about it, that was their version of the movies, buying that DVD and going back to the car. So there's a marketing opportunity for those that can watch Netflix. To your point, maybe in that 30 minutes, they're quote unquote going to the movies, and so entice them to come in and get food, popcorn, and shit and so forth. So,
yeah, Darren,
great point.
Hey, no, I think I said it, but you got there. So you made the connection, and I think that's very cool. And it's something that you could incentivize somebody. Hey, make this a movie night. Make this a movie stop. Pull over at exit 93, and not only do you get a chance to fill up, but you also get a free popcorn as long as you buy a Coke. So that's an awesome point.
Yeah. It's hard to watch something on Netflix, Disney Plus, or whatever without chewing on something. Trust me.
No doubt.
All right. I have one more question. What do you think the market will look like in 5 years? It's a toughie. Go out in a big one.
It is a toughie. But the exponential growth that we have seen in the industry is something that is shocking. A little peek behind the curtain. Blink in 2020, any random month, we were expected to put 50 to 100 new chargers in the ground. In 2021, we're expected to have 15 times that growth month after month. And just the growth that we've had as a company, going from a handful of employees all the way up to over close to 150 today in just a small year span, shows the growth that we're expecting in the industry, and the ramp up of not only production, but also the ramp up of team members. There are smarter people above me who have made these decisions to ramp everything up. And it shows that there will be a massive adoption coming in the next couple of years. And I think the new vehicles that will be coming out will speak to a vast number of people who didn't necessarily feel comfortable driving electric in the past. It's not that we're unresponsive to the electric vehicle. It's just we haven't had the right electric vehicle maybe that we have wanted to drive or have felt comfortable to drive. And by putting in an infrastructure today that will allow people to feel comfortable driving in the future will just help the imminent boom of the industry. And by no means do we expect the internal combustion engine to completely go away. There will always be a market for them. There always will be. And something that's interesting is Norway just passed the 50% electric vehicle to internal combustion engine vehicle sales in their country. And I think it was like 51-49. The U.S. is trying to catch that. I don't think we will get there in the next 5 years by any means, but we are slowly closing the gap between electric and internal combustion engines. as long as the infrastructure is in place, we will continue to see the growth of the industry. And we are here to help fuel that and create a greener future. So exponential growth, that's all we see coming.
So before I finish with our wacky questions, how can people get a hold of you or a hold of Blink?
Oh, yeah. Blinkcharging.com. There is a ton of information online that you guys can go to, as well as just brief little infographics. Put in your information and somebody like myself will reach out to you within the day. I love talking about the EV industry. All of my family is internal combustion engine still, and I'm the only EV guy. So I'm slowly converting my family, and slowly after that, converting the world. I'm just kidding. But I'm happy to talk about it. And prior to me joining the industry, I didn't know anything about it, and I know there will be a lot of questions coming up of simple, how does the car charge? And there were questions that I didn't know prior to starting, and just little things like that. No questions too small. Feel free to reach out to Blink through the contact website, and we will get back to you and help out any way we can.
Okay, so before we go, I like to surprise you with my wacky questions. Call this our fast fill. Okay, what's your go-to on the road snack?
Oh, one of the spicy taquitos on the little roller systems.
I feel like that's a Darren pick.
Yeah, or beef jerky. Beef jerky's always a good one too.
So smelly though. My husband, we just went for the 4th. We went out of town and it was like, it's really smelly. Okay. Do you prefer to ride or drive?
Drive.
Drive. Yeah. Okay. If you're stuck at a truck stop in a snowstorm, how do you pass the time?
How do I pass the time? First of all, I'm from Colorado, so there is no snow that will stop me. I will drive through that snow no matter what. If I am stopped, though, man, I am a crossword fanatic.
Sounds like you're not.
Yeah, so I'm a crossword fanatic. I will buy a USA Today and just sit down and do the crossword, do the Sudoku, try to do the word scramble. I'm old school. I prefer the crosswords on the newspaper than the crosswords over your little apps. So probably just grab a USA Today and do a crossword.
Okay. That's a good one. Okay, how do you take your truck stop coffee?
Black.
Black. Okay, and the last one is controversial. Is it truck stop, travel center, or travel plaza?
Oh, I've always gone truck stop. I've always just Coke.
It's a toughie.
Yeah, it's like what do you call Coke? Is it pop, soda, or Coke? Everything is a Coke to me. Everything is a truck stop to me.
Okay, alrighty. Good answer. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you to everyone for listening to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. You can find us online at natso.com/podcast. If you have any questions for me or Darren, reach out to us at editor@natso.com. Bye, guys.
The Truck Stops Here was brought to you by Natso, the association representing truck stops and travel centers. Visit natso.com for more information. The Truck Stops Here is produced by Natso in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.